Good evening. This is AAUW coming to you directly from the Carbondale Public Library. I am Sarah Faye Martin, and I am happy to be here tonight. And we are going to present the AAUW in turbulent times. How do we manage? And we have a special person from our own group tonight, Paula Purdue is our speaker, and Olga Widener, I would like you to present Paula this evening.
Oh, Olga, you are muted. Can you unmute?
Can you hear me now? Paula Purdue is the current co-chair of public policy for AAUW Illinois with Tracy Sherman Falcon. Paula started out as a home ec teacher and started as the first woman lobbyist for the Illinois Education Association in 1976. She retired from IEA in 2004 and started her own lobby firm. She retired in 2012 and is still a feminist and hopes to be equal before she dies. And so do I. We are eager to hear her tell us how to survive in turbulent times with AAUW values. And these are turbulent times indeed. A warm welcome on behalf of the Carbondale branch of AAUW. Paula.
Thank you so very much. I think the title of this program is just so perfect. You could not have done a better job with the title. So I'm going to give you a wrap up of what happened in the lame duck session. The lame duck session is what happens after veto override and before the new General Assembly. It happens every other year. And sometimes exciting things happen and sometimes nothing happens. This year we had a jam-packed lame duck session. And so I'm happy to share with you a number of things that occurred just before the regular session in early January. First of all, we have been supporting a bill called the Illinois Family and Medical Leave Insurance Act. One of the reasons why AAUW is so interested in passing this bill is that one of the reasons why women are so far behind on pay equity is that when there's an illness in the family or a mother-in-law or a cousin or whatever, it's oftentimes, sometimes all the time, the woman that loses her job, quits her job, doesn't get her pay increases, doesn't get her pension so that she can do whatever needs to be done to keep the family going and help out with the medical needs or whatever of some other person in the family. So if we can pass family and medical leave, it's for family leave and medical leave, and it will be paid for by the companies in the state of Illinois. And after a year, according to, if we could get it passed someday, anyone who is working in the state of Illinois can get a family leave or a medical leave. And there's a long list of what can be available. But if that could be done, women would have a much better chance at getting to pay equity. I don't know about you, but I remember, and I don't know if it's 76, 78, 79, but at that time, it was 59 cents that a woman made for every dollar of a man. And now I think it's like 79 cents. So since let's just say 1980, we've come up 20 cents. I mean, that is absurd. And I'm sure that many of you have read our pay equity resolution that we get through the legislature, Senate and House every year. But last year, we don't have the figures yet for this year, but last year it was like March 15th. That was the average woman, the length of time for the average woman to get to pay equity of a man. But for African American women, it was around August 26th. And for American Indian women, it was sometime in September. And honest to God, I don't know how these folks survived. But if you're a Latina woman, it was like the end of October. I mean, Latina women have to work almost 2 years to get. So if we can pass the Illinois Family Medical and Leave Act, Medical Leave Act, we might be able to help with the pay equity issue. We've been working on this bill for several years. We haven't gotten it past go, but finally the coalition in charge met with Representative Jahan Gordon, who is a wonderful Black woman legislator from Peoria and is in leadership in the House, and backed her bill, which is House Bill 208 that requires sick leave. So it's not family leave, but it's sick leave. It's a step in the right direction. And so we supported that in the lame duck session, and it passed, and the governor is going to sign it. So we're starting on a road to hopefully have some sort of an impact on women's pay equity. Additionally, when the Dobbs decision came down and Roe versus Wade was eliminated nationally, there were all sorts of concerns about what we needed to do in Illinois to progress even further. Now, Illinois is one hell of a state when it comes to abortion rights. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, we finally eliminated the parent, where you had to have your parent request if you're under 18, parental leave. And so we finally eliminated that out. And we are like one of the few states that is pro-choice all the way up and down. But after the Dobbs decision, where there are so many more folks coming to the state of Illinois. So House Bill 4664 has some cleanup sections in it, but the primary purpose, there's a whole list of little things that it does. But the primary purpose of that bill was to make sure that patients, doctors, and parents that come to Illinois to get an abortion are not harmed. They are protected when they come to Illinois. And that, I mean, we're having so many folks come to Illinois to take care of their health needs, and being able to protect people who come here from other states is very, very important. It also does a lot to encourage gender affirming issues, so that if you come to Illinois for a gender affirming treatment, that you're going to be protected for that as well. So we're really happy that that passed. Now, another thing we were working on in the lame duck session was to mandate sexual health education for all schools. That did not pass, but that'll be an issue that we'll be working on in the future. There are many, many school districts that do not teach sexual health. And we did finally pass, I think it was 2 years ago, we finally passed the bill that requires that if you teach sexual health, it has to be medically correct and age appropriate. Now, I'm sure in your area, there's folks all over that are saying that this bill requires 5-year-olds to learn how to put a condom on. Well, I want you to know that's bull roar. What it does is that age appropriate means that good touch, bad touch is something that I would assume all parents teach, but we know all parents don't teach it. And some parents abuse that. And so when we're talking about elementary schools, and you have folks say that we're teaching not age appropriate, you can just tell them that they are wrong and that age appropriate for those younger children is bad touch. And we know that every once in a while we hear about 9 and 10 and 11-year-old girls who are pregnant. And that's because of someone in the family that was abusing, and the child, had they known good touch, bad touch, might have been able to protect themselves. So that we didn't mandate, but we tried. But the third thing that we were involved in that did pass is the Illinois Protective Community. Let me get the right name. Illinois Protect Communities Act. And that's the bill that requires that says that no guns, no assault weapons in Illinois can be sold or distributed. So now we have assault weapons in Illinois now, but there can be no more distribution and no more sales in Illinois. I presume that you may have heard that there's some folks who are opposed to that. The Republican candidate that failed for governor has made it clear that he is not going to encourage anybody, that they're going to try to keep buying assault weapons and distributing them. So I was raised on a farm, and my brothers, and even I think I went when I was 9 or 10 to go hunting. But as you all know, if maybe you don't know, but if you use an assault weapon on a deer, there's no antlers, there's no meat, there's nothing. So the only reason one needs an assault weapon is to kill, to just destroy something. It just doesn't make any sense. But Illinois is one of the few states that has been able to pass a law like this. It's going to be troublesome. We're going to have issues in the next couple of years dealing with that, maintaining the bill. But I personally am very proud of our legislators and legislation and governor, who were very supportive of getting this bill passed. And hopefully this will help other states get there too. One of my favorite issues that seems to not go anywhere is the Equal Rights Amendment. There is it's called House Resolution 1 in Illinois House that is just a resolution that says that the Illinois legislature supports the Equal Rights Amendment. There will also be a resolution in the Senate, but I don't have the number of it yet. But we will certainly keep our public policy folks notified as to when that number is out. I'm not sure how that's going to help a lot, but that's one of the things that we can do in Illinois to try to move the Congress forward to do something. I personally don't understand. And now I'm going to forget the guy's name, but the gentleman who accepts the constitutional amendments and President Trump told that person not to accept it. I don't know why Biden can't just say accept it. But for some reason, my simple mind doesn't understand the problem. It really frustrates me that we can't get it ratified and then Constitution. But at least we're not giving up. That's for sure. So that's kind of an update on what happened in the lame duck session and with mandating sexual health, what did not happen. What I want to also share just a little bit of inside politics. So we have a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate in Illinois. And one of the problems that we had in the lame duck session, and our lobbyist thinks might continue, is that the House would pass a bill. For instance, the House passed a bill about cleaning up choice concerns in protecting patients who come to Illinois. The Senate passed another bill, similar but not the same. And then we had this fight over, are you going to accept the Senate bill? Or are you going to accept the House bill? Pardon me. I hope that doesn't continue, because that's just a pain. But we have egos in the Democratic Party as well as in the Republican Party. And so hopefully our issues will be able to succeed in spite of those opposing wanting to be the best or whatever they want to be. I'm not sure. The other thing that I think is so important, and I'm getting a drink, so I'm switching around here. I apologize. Is we're really concerned about school board elections. We have candidates running for school boards in suburbia and downstate that, in my opinion, want to destroy public education. And what they want to do is to eliminate any sexual health education understanding at all. And they also want no discussion of different genders. And we know there are children with different genders in our schools. They want no understanding or no recognition or no discussion on anything dealing with genders beside biological genders. And they want to whitewash our racial history, and they want to censor books. All of those four basic things are opposed to our AAUW values. And because this movement has gotten quite large, we've been concerned. In September, I talked to different folks, and there were others who were concerned. And so we now have a statewide coalition. The coalition can be enlarged. I'm not sure we have everybody in it that needs to be in it. But we started off with the Illinois Library Association. So the president of the Illinois Library Board is on our coalition. The president of AAUW, and AAUW is Association of Librarians, Librarian Educators. It's kind of a different acronym. So that organization is active. We have the Illinois Education Association, the Illinois Federation of Teachers Association. We have AFSCME. AFSCME has employees in librarians and also some employees in some school districts. And they have joined us. We have Planned Parenthood. We have Equality Illinois. We have the school administrators. We have the Illinois School Board Association. We have IWIL, and IWIL is the Illinois Women in Leadership. It is a democratic organization that trains women to understand how to get into politics. And many of the IWIL candidates have become local, state, and national candidates. That organization has never trained women to run for school boards. And so they are involved in our coalition to see how they can expand their training to get involved in school boards. We have Rick Jaskolka, and Rick Jaskolka is a owner of a large PR firm in Chicago. His son works for the Hinsdale School District, and he got apprised of this issue through his son. And so he's decided that he has to do something about it. So that PR firm has promised that they will train candidates who are on our side for public education, not opposed. and that they will also give flyers. They will put together flyers and other PR materials for free to help us out. The Illinois Education Association did not spend all their millions of dollars in the general election, saving money, and I'm sure the IFT did as well, to be able to get involved in school board elections. So the IEA has hired a legal team to go through what we think or ascertain to be, I will call them the wacky candidates, and make sure that they have all of their petitions correct, their signatures correct. Because, you know, who's ever gotten excited about school board elections before? And so we're hoping that they haven't done a good job getting their petitions, and maybe we can just knock them off before the campaign starts. Additionally, Dan Proft, who is a very rich, I'll just call him a wacky too, he has promised $23 million to these candidates. Now, there's several organizations. One is Moms for Liberty. Another one is Awake. And I'm not sure what, I don't know if I've ever found out what Awake stands for. But Awake is based in Naperville, Illinois. And they have declared themselves a financial campaign, so they can collect money and spend it like any other campaign can. And one of their leaders made it clear in an email that was sent out to us, calling the League of Women Voters the League of Women Vipers. And I think that's a real pat on the back for the League of Women Voters. You know, if you've got an enemy that dislikes you that much, they're doing something right. So here's what we are asking our members to do throughout the state. Number one, we need in each school district, and this is difficult, particularly in suburbia, because they have elementary districts, they have high school districts, so they may have 3 school districts or 4 in their town, which is goofy, but that's just the way suburbia is. But we need to find out, like in Carbondale, who are your board members and which ones are okay and which ones are wacky. If you get any information on who the good guys are and who the wacky ones are, I want to know, because then I can share that with our coalition, and then we can get information to the good guys. Then we start off and running. So, and if you have a League of Women Voters and you do a panel discussion with candidates, that's even more important this year than ever before, because our hope is that if the public knows what's going on in their school district, maybe we can elect the good guys and not have too many wackies get elected. So with that, how about questions? Additionally to the group was Planned Parenthood and Equality Illinois. We're adding other folks, but if you know of some group that's a statewide group that would like to get involved, let me know.
Okay, Paula, I'm Marcia Anderson, so I'm going to be collecting some questions to pose to you here from our participants. And I'll go ahead and start just with following up with what you just talked about most recently, and that's the coalition. Now, this is as I understand your explanation. This coalition really was formed really to deal with the school board member issue. Is that correct?
And library.
And library. All right, very good. So and so AAUW then is part of that coalition that's moving forward. Oh, okay. So do you see this coalition working on any other issues in the future? school board now, anything down the road that you see that such a coalition would be working on?
I think it depends on what the wackies do.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, so many of us, I mean, I've been involved in public education for decades. And to think that, I mean, I think it's a small group of people that want to do these hideous things to our children really makes me angry. And we're hoping that if everybody understands what's going on, that, the normal folks will win and public education will survive. But if those folks expand, I know that the Naperville branch of AAUW is working with their municipality because they have some municipal problems. And so we have to be careful about getting involved in partisan issues, and school boards are not partisan. They've never been partisan. But if we get into municipal, I don't know if those are nonpartisan or not, but our values are the same values. So that's kind of a half-assed answer.
Okay, all right, sure. Well, but that was a tough one. Let's go back to the health education mandate. You said it did not pass in the lame duck session. Can you talk a little bit about what AAUW, how are they lobbying for this, and a little bit about the process about how that lobbying occurs, and what parts of the bill do they go after? So it would be useful to know a little more about that process.
I'd be happy to do that. So AAUW, our lobbyist, and Tracy and I are part of several coalitions. And AAUW, in the view in the expansion of Illinois politics, is not a major issue. We don't donate millions of dollars. We don't have zillions of members, but we're an important part. And so the way that we manage to expand our power is to be involved in coalitions. So, there's Planned Parenthood, Equality Illinois, the Federation of Jewish Women, AAUW now. There's 15, 25 organizations involved in a coalition to move the sexual health bill originally and now to mandate it. So we all have contacts with legislators. And when you get involved in a bill with a coalition, we are all asked to encourage our members to speak to their legislators. We hope that happens. I know it does sometimes. I don't know that it does every time. But that's when we send out that we're supporting a bill, if you can talk to your representative and your senator, that would be wonderful. Now, talking to your representative and your senator may be a lot more difficult than talking to my representative and my senator, because I'm now based in Chicago. So my legislators are oftentimes the chief sponsors of these bills, and probably your legislators don't vote for them. But that doesn't mean they don't need to be talked to. They do need to be talked to. They do need to understand it. And so that's what we do. So each organization has connections to legislators. Your lobbyist works in those coalitions. She's given assignments. She goes out and talks to the various folks. When a legislator asks a question, well, what about this? Then she either answers it if she knows the answer, or she goes back to Planned Parenthood or ACLU or whomever can answer that question, and then go back and answer it. So you check your legislators, so you find out you need 59 You 60 votes in the House to pass the bill. So we have to find, you hope that you can find 75 yes votes, because then you know that, okay, so if 2 people are sick, you're still going to get it passed. If you get 62 people or 62 votes, that's cutting it pretty close. And then you have to make sure that when the bill is called, all of your people are on the floor. And so making sure that you have, a padding of 10 or 15 is very good. You do that with the House, and you do that with the Senate, and you do it with the committees, because all bills have to go through the committees. And each coalition member has different connections with folks, and can accomplish, so you check back and forth, you share information, and then after you get the bills passed, you have to make sure the governor's on board. So what our coalitions do, because I think we're involved in good coalitions, is check with the governor up front. If we pass this, will you sign it? Because it's goofy to pass something and we do have a big Democratic majority in the House and the Senate in Illinois, but there are still Democrats in issues that are not as pro-choice as others. And there are some Democrats that are not as supportive as choice as others. And so you do not want to require a legislator to vote on something that isn't going to get signed. If you continue to do that, you'll lose votes. So is that a good enough explanation?
Oh, yeah, yes, good.
Good.
Okay, but go a little bit more into the health education bill, and what was it? What were the issues that were causing it from not passing?
First of all, if we're going to mandate it, we have to find money, and so it's not just going to be passing a bill to require to mandate sexual health education. We got to find money. So it's a little more complicated when you want to take money and it's stupid to pass a mandate without money. So that's part of the issue. The other part of the issue that I think what happened this lame duck session is that they passed the gun, the protective, the assault weapons bill. They passed the bill that clarifies choice for out-of-state folks and clarifies a bunch of other things, and also requires that gender-affirming processes be done and protected as well. And the leadership of the Democratic Party in both House and Senate kind of made it clear that these are pretty tough issues, and maybe this other tough issue could wait for the next session or two. So, no one wants to pass something that causes yes votes to lose.
Yeah.
And we know, with Kansas, Kansas was such a wonderful example. We know that the vast majority of the United States of America supports choice. But you don't want to string people along and then lose. Like if we lost 10 pure choice votes an election, we wouldn't be able to pass squat in the next session. So it's a combination of that thinking that occurred.
Sure. Well, let's move to the state equity, the pay bill, the equity pay bill.
Yes.
You could share a little bit about what needs to be done to get that passed.
Well, first of all, AAUW at the federal level has to get the facts put together. They always have in the past gotten this done in December or January, but early in the year. last year, I don't think they got it done till end of March or something. And last year was that crazy year when the session got out early because they switched the primary. Now I forgot why the primary was switched to June. Oh, because we didn't have the count, the census count. So last year was a real pain because we didn't have the language, because that comes from the national AAUW. And then by the time we got it, it was late. I think we had like 2 weeks to get that passed. And it's not a difficult resolution to write. Once we get the information from AAUW, it's easy to write. But then we have to get co-sponsors. And I think, I'm sure there are secretaries in the Legislative General Assembly of Illinois that never want to hear my name again, because I would call, like, as soon as we got the bill, I called every woman legislator. I call Republicans and Democrats, but I call every woman legislator. So I called everyone, let's say on Monday. On Wednesday, I'd call them again. And then, slowly but surely, there's probably 25 women that just automatically know it and they understand it and they just do it. And so then what I ended up doing is, like, every other day, I would call their staff, because our lobbyists couldn't get in to talk to them because of COVID. So it's much easier when you can buttonhole them in a hallway or the bathroom or wherever and remind them that they need to get on this resolution. So I think I didn't call everybody 7 times, but there were a number of women legislators I called their staff 7 times. I don't think everybody got on, but they all knew who Paula Purdue was. And some of them, I felt so bad for the staff members because they can't do it. And so I said, well, this is Paula Purdue. Well, Paula, how are you doing? So, but anyway, that's how we passed the resolution. What I really thought was wonderful, in Chicago, we have a group that picks the pay and celebrates the Pay Equity Day every year. My problem with that group is all they do is celebrate it. They don't do anything to correct it. But anyway, we're AAUW Illinois Chicago is always a part of that group. And what they did this year, which I think is fabulous, they didn't celebrate it on March 15th. They celebrated it on October 26th, or whenever Latina women, the last group of women, got equal pay. I think that's a wonderful way of kind of waking people up. So whatever.
Wonderful, Paula. Well, do any of the participants have questions to ask Paula? If not, we want to say thank you, Paula. We thank you for your presentation tonight, and we thank you for what you're doing for women through AAUW in the state of Illinois, and for the years that you've been doing it. I was going to ask you some questions about, what was it like to be a lobbyist in the 70s, and what's it like now? But
I can quickly do that if you I could give you a couple stories. So so I started in 76, and back then there were I think 7 to 8 women in the state legislature that were paid lobbyists. Now there were 25 or so women lobbyists, but they were volunteers who had money, who would take the train down to Springfield and lobby on issues that were important. So they were good lobbyists. But paying a woman to be a lobbyist was a crazy idea for some folks. And at the time, my boss was Ken Bruce. If you were in the Illinois Educational Association back then, you would remember his name. There were maybe 25 legislators that could not accept that a woman could be a lobbyist. And I don't know if Ken Bruce told them or what, but I would, send a card in with my name on it, and they would come out and say, "Oh, you're Ken Bruce's secretary, aren't you?" "Yes, I am." "Well, what does Ken Bruce want me to do?" "Well, Ken wants you to," and then I would give my spiel. And the only way that got eliminated is for them to die off. Now, today, I think there's surely, pardon me, there may not be as many women lobbyists as men, but any organization that has, let's say if they have 3 lobbyists, one of them is a woman. And if they have 5 lobbyists, 2 are women. It has changed dramatically. In '76, I worked with a couple of other staff members and women lobbyists, and we developed an organization called Network. And Network was just for women. And we all supported the Equal Rights Amendment. We were all pro-choice, but we were Republicans and Democrats and independents and staff and lobbyists, but we were all women. And we got bigger and bigger and bigger. In the '70s, we're working on the Equal Rights Amendment, and even past then. We decided that the secretaries were the secretaries at that time were all women. They're not all women now. There's a number of young men who are secretaries, but back then they were all women. And I tell you, talk about a really mistreated group of professional women. And so what we did is on when we had a day not in session, because they couldn't do it with session, we would stay down in Springfield. Of course, I lived there, but others had to stay down in Springfield. And we made big sub sandwiches. I mean, they were too hard to do, but we made sub sandwiches and we got chips and we had drinks, and our organization paid for all of that. And only secretaries were invited.
Oh, good.
And we just had, it was wonderful. I have relationships with secretaries that know very few men. Now, there were men who had relationships with secretaries, but they were sexual. There were guys who played around and their secretary was one of their mistresses or whatever. But many of us women lobbyists, because of that, we honored the secretaries, had special relationships, which never hurts.
That's how things get done.
That's right.
Well, again, thank you, Paula. And I'm going to turn it over to Martha Eller, who's going to talk a little bit.
Can I have one more moment? One more moment.
Sure.
I want to thank you all for everything you do for AAUW public policy. We would be nothing without you, and you are everything. So thank you so much for building our muscle.
And we thank Olga Widener for that, for our Carbondale branch.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's right. And so on to Martha, who's going to talk more about AAUW.
I have one question of Paula. Since I'm public policy chair, would it be more effective for us to go in person and call on some of our senators and representatives rather than write or call them?
It's always, if you can see them eyeball to eyeball, that's the very best. And you don't have to see them in Springfield, see them down in Carbondale.
Thank you.
Then telephone, then letter. Just the more personal you can make it, the better it is.
Thank you.
And even if they never listen to you, bug them anyway, nicely.
Thank you, Marcia. I'll say just a few words about AAUW. I have a feeling that most of you already know about it, but AAUW is a very old organization. At the same time, it's very much up to date, as weighing in on very current issues, as Paula's presentation certainly bears out. But it was founded in 1881, so it's been over 140 years. AAUW has been a leading voice promoting equity and education for women and girls. We're operating on 3 levels, national, state, and the local branches. The national has published hundreds of research reports. It has propelled many new laws, including the Equal Pay Act, Title IX Amendment, Family and Medical Leave Act, Lilly Ledbetter Fairness Act, provides fellowships, grants, and awards. It's one of the largest scholarship programs for women in the world. Also funds pioneering research on many topics affecting women, girls, and education. At the state level, I think Paula has certainly illuminated the very important work that can be accomplished through state organization. I think our Illinois state organization is exceptional, but it is. We are so grateful as a branch to have the support of the of AAUW Illinois. We are then in Carbondale, one of the 1,000 local branches. Our branch was actually founded in 1927, so we're coming on 100 soon. We've certainly changed and evolved over the years, but the core mission has always been the same: to advance gender equity for women and girls. We host monthly meetings, like this one, September through May. Everyone is welcome to attend any one of our programs. We also work to achieve our mission by providing scholarships to women students at SIU. We would welcome anyone who shares our goals to join AAUW. You can get more information through our Facebook page, Carbondale Branch AAUW. We're glad to have had you with us this evening, and now I'll return to our past president, Ella Lacey, who is going to talk about our next meeting.
Oh, Ella, you are muted.
So thank you, Martha. Paula, truly appreciated the presentation. Very good, and it energizes us. Let me just, okay, something's on my screen different, and I just wanted to make sure. I'd like to talk about our next month's meeting. Just a few words to remind everyone when, where, who our speaker is, and that kind of thing. Our next AAUW program is Tuesday, second Tuesday, February 14th at 7 p.m. at the African American Museum of Southern Illinois, which
Now you're frozen.
I apologize. That's a problem I've been having today. It's in the University Mall of Carbondale. The program presentation for the evening will be on historical settlements of African Americans in Southern Illinois. The presenter will use thoroughly researched efforts of her own family ancestry and share some of the highlights of her research on these settlements. The presenter will be Kimberly France, who is a pharmacist, a lawyer, and a researcher. It promises to be a very informative and exciting evening. So we welcome everyone to join us for our next program on February 14th. We will come to you with the Love of Valentine's Day presentation. So thank you, and we look forward to seeing everyone with friends and family and others at that presentation. Thank you very much. Sarah Faye.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And Paula, you have been enlightening to our way of life as AAUW and what we will be able to pursue. And I know that several of us are ready to go knock on some doors of some politicians very soon. And thank you, everybody, for your inclusion. You're helping us with everything that we do. And Paula, I hope we can see you sometime this summer as well. And that's it.